Thank you for taking time being with us today. Tell us a little bit more regarding yourself and your background.
I'm a lawyer. You know, I'm 50 years old, or 51 to be exact. I've graduated from law school when I was 23. Worked for a couple of years in a law firm. I had a previous 4 or 5 months' experience in banking, but I found it, I felt myself a bit of a prisoner of timetables and schedules. And so I decided to go to a law firm, and this law firm allowed me some freedom, time to teach law at the Lisbon University, and so that's what I did for the next 3 years or 4. Then I went to London, where I did a master's and LLM in law of international finance and the European Union law. Stayed there for a whole year, from September to September. Came back, went to another law firm, spent 3 or 4 years, and when I was 33, I think, I struck out on my own and started Caiado Guerreiro with my brother, Tiago. We did that around 19 years ago. 18 years ago, actually, and 3 months. So 1999, actually, October 1999. You know, we started together, just the 2 of us. Certainly very little money, but enough money to cover expenses. We joined another lawyer with a sharing space agreement. Did a bit of traveling to find the first clients, particularly foreign clients, as I had built relationships during my time abroad and traveling before. I used to travel a lot. And, you know, here we are. We are now among the 8 to 10 largest law firms in Lisbon, having clients in all kinds of law. And we also, you know, we do accounting, we do some help searching real estate from some of our clients, where law is our main, our core, but it's a small part of what we do. We advise clients in many areas, from data protection to litigation to accounting to tax to whatever.
Being an entrepreneur, it takes a lot from you, because you take a lot of beatings. And I'm interested to know, since you were so focused as a lawyer from the beginning, when you start having feedback of the way that you are thinking is not working, how long does it usually take you to adjust? How do you develop hypotheses and test it out in order to figure out the best way for you to move forward?
I think one of the things you have to learn when you're trying to grow a law firm is to grow a thick skin. I mean, people who are often more inquisitive and toughest as buyers, if you want to call it that way, are probably more interested in you than others. And law is a profession where you sell a lot of yourself. So basically, people have to trust you, and you have to be worthy of that trust. And you adjust intuitively to what people want. Obviously, if you know that the client is in is a pharmaceutical company, you're certainly not going to talk to him about banking and vice versa. You adjust to that kind of thing. But I think the secret really is made of the secret of the success of Caiado Guerreiro is made of very, very little, I wouldn't say very little things, but not many things. You know, persistence is critically, is probably the most important, persistent and resilience, or a bit the same thing in Portuguese at least, are the most important thing. You can't just quit. You have to go on to keep talking to people, to understand that rejection is normal, that people aren't going to run after you. And then when they come, you have to give them fantastic service and deliver results. And as we delivered good service and or excellent service and results, we are always on time. We never miss deadlines. We always take calls. We always answer, emails in 2 hours, or WhatsApp messages, or whatever messaging system the client is using or the person is using, and we answer everybody. There's everybody that wants to talk to us. We're always available. That's those are very simple sayings, but what's very, very hard is to first, as you grow, keep this spirit with all the rest of the team, and second, stay humble and understand that you always have a lot of learning to do about any new client, about new technologies, about things that change. Clients and people need change, and you have to change with it.
Being a lawyer has a lot to do with reading people, and you become really good at understanding who you are facing, because you might be seeing someone that is really creative, so he is probably a good liar. You probably can see someone that is aggressive but is not showing, so he probably is a dangerous person. So I would like to learn, I like to understand, how have you throughout the years have learned to spot important things in personalities when you are dealing with people?
Well, I don't really make an effort to understand, because I'm not one of those people very, very good at reading people. I try to stay on what verbal message they're saying and whatever they're saying, and believe many things at face value, and then just hold people to it. Obviously, I try to be extremely well informed about people and about what's happening in various sectors of business, because I'm a business lawyer, and right now I'm clearly a litigator more than everything, and knowing about things, so that makes it hard to lie. And basically, there's a word in Portugal that you should trust, not always trusting, and it's got to be some kind of balance like that. Certainly, I've learned a lot about reading people, and that's one thing that, as you get more experience, you become better, but you also become better at knowing that unforeseen circumstances are always intervening, and you never know really what's going on people's minds, often because they don't know themselves. So what they're going to do. So I think it's better just to stick to what they're saying, and take it from there. Then you have to do your due diligence and understand who you're speaking to. That's, I think, critical nowadays, when you get contacts from everywhere in the world, from China, from Brazil, from Italy. And this was just this morning, and you have to have a team that goes and checks if these people are who they say they are. Often they aren't. You get a lot of those famous Nigerian letters and Nigerian emails and business propositions, and I've always had something, some very basic ideas. One is, if it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. It's a good truism.
Sales are done by relationships, because
Yep.
like you said, in the same lines, people start to trust you, so you start developing relationships. It becomes easier. What would be your advice for entrepreneurs when developing relationships, so you don't lose your way but keep focusing on the things that matter the most?
Get interested in the other person. Get to know the other person. Get interested in the other person. Care about him. You'll get the work eventually. Care about what the person does. Get interested in what they do. I'm naturally curious, so for me it's easy, and I like people. So that's no secret at all. It's easy to do. Get interested in the other person and what they do. Listen to them.
Gotcha. And coming back to our business world, which is real estate, I would like to hear your thoughts regarding current situation in Portugal regarding real estate. Just a kind of a free, a free way of thinking, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on our present situation.
I've always been interested in real estate, and currently I'm also the chairman of the Portuguese Association of Real Estate Owners, which is an association that represents all the real estate owners, big and small, in Portugal. I believe that Portugal is living through a very, very good moment for real estate, which makes absolute sense. I mean, we are the country, together with some places in southern Spain, but they don't have good beaches in the south of Spain. They have those good beaches on the north. That's true. They have excellent beaches in the north, but on the north, but not on the south. And we do have them on the south. So we could be kind of the Florida of Europe, or West Coast Europe. I like the idea of West Coast Europe. And Lisbon became trendy recently, and Portugal became trendy in the way that we are very much at the edge, and we've always been at the edge because, you know, we're the end of Europe. We're the most western part of Europe. And if you look at the United States, in the past 50 years, with the exception of Texas, which has very liberal politics and therefore the economy works very well, the states that have grown more are the states with good weather, meaning Florida and California. So why not the same in Europe? Obviously, Europe has different nationalities and so on and so forth. But now Portugal has developed two interesting legal instruments that make life very, very easy for foreigners who want to come here. One is the golden visa, whereby basically if you invest 500,000 in real estate, you get a resident permit for 5 years, and then you can apply for nationality. And the Portuguese individual tax regime, the non-habitual residence regime, as it is now known, and that regime allows people to come to Portugal, move to Portugal, and pay no taxes on foreign income. That has made Portugal very, very competitive. And so there's a lot of people from France, from Germany, from Spain, even from China, moving to Lisbon and to Portugal. So that has increased the pressure in that has brought real estate prices up. They've gone up a lot. But one should remember that they were down, they were really, really depressed after 2008, 2009, where we had a terrible recession and intervention by the IMF, etc., and the European Union. So it's normal that they're up. Whether this is going to continue or not depends very much on whether we keep the golden visa and the non-habitual tax regime working. If we do, I believe real estate will have we will have very, very good years ahead, because many of our clients come to Portugal not just by the tax advantages or the residency advantage for the golden visa, but because of the quality of life, the excellent public health, the good public and private schools, the good universities. We have universities now in the Financial Times ranking We have excellent engineering universities and excellent engineers like you, Diogo. We have, and that's bringing in Volkswagen is coming here because of our engineers, and so is Mercedes, and so is Google and Amazon. They're all establishing offices in Portugal, basically because they believe the Portuguese has a lot of resources, untapped resources, untapped people, technical people who are available, and also many foreigners want to work in Portugal. I mean, it's a nice lifestyle, very much a California or Florida lifestyle where you can, you know, I know it's a sunny day out there. I can go surfing in at the during lunch break if I want to. It takes me 15 minutes by car to get to the beach. I don't surf, by the way, but I sail. Anyway, I have friends who go surfing in the middle of the day, others in the morning. So, you know, and you can do this all year round. So it's easy to attract people here. We have good international airport, plenty of flights, cheap flights, and so that's making Portugal more interesting.
From the legal side, important things that you would advise outsiders to be aware of when they are coming in to invest in Portugal. Can you run us through some of the most important ones so they could understand how they could come to Portugal and start investing?
Portugal is a great place to do business, but you have to be patient. And you have to understand that business culture is different. And things take some time. Bureaucracy is complicated. Bureaucracy is the very big disadvantage of Portugal. And so one of the things you do have to do when you come to Portugal is you have to get a good lawyer. You have to get a good lawyer, and you probably should go to one of the reputed law firms. It's certainly a good investment. And the fact is most multinational, all multinationals and all sophisticated companies, that's what they do, and that's how they save money. But Portugal has very good things. You can incorporate a company in one day. You then need an accountant. It's a country where it's very easy to establish a company. It's easy to come to Portugal now. There's also visas for entrepreneurs, visas for technical people. So, you know, but when you invest somewhere, what companies do is, the first thing they do is get somebody to guide them through the complications of and the bureaucracies of Portugal and the corporate laws and so on and so forth. So my advice in 3 simple words is get a lawyer. Or in 4 words is get a good one, and that's the way to go. If you do that, you'll probably not have problems with any kind of authorities, and you can concentrate on your business, because our laws look harsher than they are in our labor laws and so on and so forth. Portugal has actually a good investment climate, particularly for foreigners. We're a country that treats very well foreign investment. You should know that Portugal has never in its history ever nationalized assets belonging to foreign people. They have always been protected for hundreds of years.
Okay. One thing that I wanted to understand is, let's say some investor is in, let's say in the US, and they would like to invest in Portugal. So they would look at probably someone that they could trust that is here. So like a syndicator. So they could send their funds and let's say, and have a private placement memorandum or some sort of legal form that they could invest in. Are any barriers for outsiders to invest with local syndicators?
No, outsiders can invest in Portugal in whatever they want, but if they're doing a public offering or looking for Portuguese investors, then they have to register with the Portuguese Securities and Exchange Commission. And there's quite a way, particularly if the offer is going to more than 100 people.
But
then
that
it
would
gets
be for outside investors, for local syndicator here. So the local
outside investors. There's no limitation. You can just go, but there is the limitation is that if the you know, if whoever is raising the money is in Portugal, then he has to pay attention to whatever security laws may be applied to those investors. If they are American investors, it will probably be, and the offer is made in America, it will probably be American law.
Okay, and have you seen situations like this where you have local syndicators, reputable ones that are registered with the SEC here, which is called SCMVM, and then raising outside capital from all over the world to invest in
Many people raise outside capital, but they go normally the easier route, which is they go to talk to the big American funds like KKR or Apollo or whoever, Blackstone or whoever they are, and convince them to invest. That's the way it goes. That's what happened with the purchase of Novo Banco, for instance, by Lone Star and many other investments. It's normally done this way. It's normally done this way. You go and you talk to the investors that have already raised capital. That's how we see most investment coming into Portugal. Portugal is right now a country with little capital. Very, very good ideas. But it's a country that's, on the other hand, I think the digitization or digitalization revolution, where everything is going digital, is actually a big, big advantage for Portugal, and may justify, with the right and even not so right policies, may justify some years of growth ahead. Is that, you know, if you're producing some kind of goods in Portugal, you're going to always have the problem of transport costs and so on and so on and so forth, of shipping and bureaucracy and so on and so forth, of shipping them to the center of Europe. You know, if you're producing oranges in Portugal, your oranges have to be so good as to beat the French oranges, because the French oranges are already in the middle of the Europe and yours are 2,000 kilometers away, and it costs money to transport the oranges. But if you're producing digital assets, if you're producing digital products, then they travel freely, which means people can be working here and selling all over the world, and then it doesn't matter where you are. And that will give an advantage to countries like Portugal, who are, we are at the edge of Europe and who are far, far, far from the center. So that, I think, will give us an advantage and may explain some of the growth in the startup scene, and the fact that Portugal has now 3 unicorn companies, which for a small country like us is a lot, and that and the creativity and capacity of the Portuguese entrepreneurs, which is a lot. It's very hard to be an entrepreneur in Portugal.
Taking on that point regarding digital assets and still keeping it on real estate, REITs, so real estate investment trusts, are getting a little bit traction here in Portugal. But on the other hand, there have been several tries in the past that have not worked. How do you think this will start to play out in the near future?
That's mainly, you know, that's mainly a political decision. You have to remember, we have an extreme left-wing government, the most left-wing government in the 43 years of democracy, and they certainly are all for raising taxes and not much about thinking. All for raising taxes and all for spending as much as they can to buy as much votes as they can. So you're not seeing them doing a lot for investment. Still, in Spain, there are the SOCIMIs, which is the European version of REITs, which basically is, in Spain, there's a regime whereby if you invest more than 5 million and you distribute a lot of dividends, I think more than 50% or so, those dividends are exempt from tax. It's just a tax exemption. So it can be made. We had it before with investment funds, then we changed it. And I think the government here, and I'm not talking just about this government, I'm talking about all governments, they mistreat property. They mistreat property and they do many, many foolish things. They keep increasing taxes on property, for instance. And they increase taxes on property, and of course, after a few years of tax increases, the property ends up valuing less. Then they have a crisis on their hands, property goes down. property goes down, banks will go bankrupt. There's a lot of public money goes into the banks to save the banks. So one of the things that we want to try to explain to the government and the public at the Portuguese Association of Property Owners, APROP, is that, you know, if governments try to charge a little less on property, they may actually be doing a very, very good business, avoiding crises and avoiding them then having to go and save the banks all over again. It's an interesting point. And there's been a drive for taxing the big American giants, Facebook, Google, Amazon, and others. That hasn't started in Portugal, but it makes absolute sense that everybody pays taxes, and those companies should actually, and of course, pay taxes on the business they do in Portugal.
Gotcha.
That could probably reduce taxation. And then, of course, you know, government has to reduce spending. They can't spend so much, and they can't spend so badly. They need to spend on what is really needed, on people that need the money, and not on people that do not want to work or don't want to or don't need it. You know, I'm all for social spending, but it must go to people who need it, not to the middle classes who don't need it.
Gotcha. Regarding APROP, why did you create it? What was your underlying idea when you decided to create this association?
Well, actually, it wasn't my idea. I was just invited to be the chairman. It was the idea of a group of people who are worried with both private property and democracy. Private property and democracy are well connected, as many authors, I could quote Tocqueville here, or I could quote many others. You know, a free man or a free woman, a free person who is politically free needs to have right to speak about whatever he wants, knowing that he's not going to, lose his standard of life or whatever. And for that, we have private property, because if you're on a government salary and that's all you have, like in communist systems, then you're not going to be really free. You're really free if you own property. There's a strong connection between market economies with private property and democracy, an extremely close connection. You just look at the oldest democracy, England, or the ones that work better, England and the United States, and even others. They have private property, they protect it, because they know that when protecting it, they're also protecting democracy, they're protecting free speech, and so on and so forth. So that's the main agenda of APROP, is to guarantee that we will continue to have private property, and we will not have a socialist state as in the Soviet Union. It doesn't work there, it didn't work in North Korea, and it doesn't work in Venezuela, and it does not work everywhere. They've tried it on all continents, it doesn't work. It's very bad for people.
I'd like to take this on another token. Run us through some of your all-time favorite books.
All-time favorite books. Well, I'll have to start with books from Sandokan, Emilio Salgari. I loved Emilio Salgari books. I also love science fiction. Lens has been one of the better. The Lens series has been a big favorite of mine. And then there are many others that I loved. You know, I loved The Count of Monte Cristo. I think Alexander Dumas is just absolutely fantastic with The Three Musketeers. I love those books. Still, you know, I like French literature. Stendhal. Loved The Americans, from John Steinbeck to Ernest Hemingway, and For Whom the Bell Tolls is an absolutely fantastic book, as is Fiesta. So, you know, there are many books that I like very much. I read a lot of science fiction and garbage literature, right? You know, and some good books too, from time to time. I'm now reading a book by Niall Ferguson. I read several books at the same time, but I'm reading an interesting biography of Henry Kissinger by Niall Ferguson, which is quite interesting. And Niall has the advantage of making books easy to read. I also loved Sam Walton's autobiography, which is a very nice.
Made in America.
Yeah, Made in America is a great business book. I loved the book about Rockefeller from
Titan.
Yeah, Titan. I love that one, and and many others. I read a lot. I read about a book or two a week. So now I'm seeing more Netflix. so I'm not reading so much. But doesn't mean I advise people to read. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's good or not. It's you'll always learn something.
Sure.
It's my favorite way of learning. It's really.
João, advice to your younger self going back, what would you say?
Enjoy life a bit more. Don't worry so much about the future. The future will take care of itself. Don't worry so much. That would be my advice to my younger self.
João, for people that wanted to get in touch with you, how could they get a hold of you and your firm?
Yeah, man, you just have to write my name in the internet. It's very easy because the firm comes up immediately. Caiado Guerreiro, or I can leave my email, but I think it's probably easier just to go and write Caiado Guerreiro in the net and send me an email. I will always answer all emails and all contacts.
It was wonderful having you with us today. We'll speak to you soon.